It is Chicago Bears Now, and I am your host, Harrison Graham. Appreciate everybody for clicking on today's show. And on today's video, we are going to answer all of your questions, so use the hashtag Bears or Super Chat function to get your questions on the air. From Keem78, high integrity general manager, head coach, and quarterback equals good leadership. Talking about Ryan Poles, Matt Eberflus, and Justin Fields. Good leadership leads to winning culture, maybe even championship culture. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think these are the right type of guys in the building, and those three have to be aligned, and I think they are, even though this regime didn't draft Justin Fields. It seems like Flus and Poles are all in on him, which I think is a very good thing. Now, obviously, Poles has to prove he can sign and draft the right players, and Flus has to prove he can coach up the right guys and have the right coaches doing the right things. And I think, there's a lot to prove there, right? Because, even though this year was a challenge with the lack of personnel, they're 3-11 for a reason. So still have some work to be done for sure. But I think they're the right type of guys, and I do think that goes a long way. Deshaun Richard, how realistic is it for the Bears to trade back with the Colts while also acquiring DeForest Buckner? If you were a GM, what would you be willing to trade except for, let's say, pick number 2? Well, a Buckner trade, I think number 2 for number 6 and Buckner, I'd probably still want a little bit more because the Colts are probably moving up in that scenario to get a quarterback. So I'd probably at least ask for like a second-round pick 2, and if they threw that in, that'd be tempting because Buckner solves the defensive tackle problem. But other trades for a number 2 pick depends how far down I'm moving. If I'm moving between 6 and 10, I want their pick this year, whether it's 6, 7, 8, 9, or 10, a future first, probably next year, and then at least a second-round pick as well. I want at least that much if I'm going to move down from 2 or 3. From Bonnie Wilbur, if the Bears got the number 1 pick, what should they do? I'm not sure it changes that much than if they get the number 2 pick, say. Now, maybe compared to number 3, it changes a lot, but I still think Ryan Poles would be heavily intrigued by trading that pick, by taking calls and seeing if a quarterback desperate need wants a specific quarterback. Because if you get the number 1 pick, then every quarterback is available. So if a certain team is like, yeah, we like Bryce Young and C.J. Stroud, but we like Bryce Young more, and the team picking at 2, we know they like Bryce Young, then they could get desperate and call and move up to number 1. So I think taking calls is still going to be in play regardless of where they pick, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, wherever they are. But I think that only increases if you get the number 1 pick, which gives you more options. Should the Bears trade or keep their first draft pick? Type T for trade or K for keep. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. If the offers suck, obviously you keep it. But, man, if you can get a haul, trade down a few slots, I think that's something you got to consider. Keem78, Velus Jones is stuck in flag football mode. Should the Bears consider bringing in a running back consultant to coach better ball security before busting him out? I think they prioritize ball security as a coaching staff. That's part of the hits principle. You don't see other guys fumbling left and right to the level he is. It's very frustrating. It stinks because I want Velus to work. I want him to be a piece on this offense, and especially as a returner. But if you can't hold on to the ball, you can't play. So I don't know. This is a big final 3 games for him. We'll see how much he plays. You could tell Eberflus was not happy with him fumbling the football. So the rest of the season for him is very important, these final 2 games or so. Latrell Fitzpatrick, love this show. Do you believe that the Bears will bring Sean Payton home to coach the Bears, especially if they lose out? Well, number 1, they're not firing Matt Eberflus. Let's get that idea out of our heads right now. Now, if you think there's some chance he could take an OC job, okay, maybe. But if he wants a head coaching job, he'll have one somewhere. There will be enough open jobs that if he calls and reaches out to teams via his agents, yeah, I'm interested, he'll get a job. Now, the Saints have his contractual rights. They may hold out for a trade, a draft pick, so we'll see what happens there. But Peyton ain't coming to be the offensive play caller. If you want him, you're going to have to make him your head coach, and they're not firing Flus after 1 year. I'm just telling you, it's not going to happen. Now, Rocket Money is something that should happen. You downloading the app. Go to rocketmoney.com/Bears now to do just that because you guys need to budget. You got to save money. As you get older and think about having kids, do any of that type of stuff like I'm doing right now, got a kid on the way this spring, I'm already starting to budget. And Rocket Money has helped me do that because they help me stay on top of my finances, keep track of my upcoming bills, and more importantly, they show all of my subscriptions on one screen. And before Rocket Money, I didn't even realize, but I was still paying for Xbox Live, a Spotify account I didn't use anymore, and now I've canceled a few of those, which all you got to do is click the cancel button next to subscriptions you don't want, and Rocket Money cancels them for you, and now I'm saving 30, 40, 50 bucks a month after getting rid of a few of those subscriptions. So download the app today, save money like me by going to rocketmoney.com/bearsnow. It's rocketmoney.com/bearsnow. Download the app for free on your iPhone or Android. From Alex Hernandez, does Fields get that last Pro Bowl NFC QB slot? He's got a shot. I mean, that would be a nice little achievement for him, right? In a year that, again, team goals were not met, obviously, overall. But if he could have a chance to flirt with Lamar's rushing record, and if he could get a Pro Bowl nominee, obviously the Pro Bowl doesn't hold nearly the stature that it used to, but it still would be pretty cool to see him voted in. So we'll see what happens. He's got a chance. We'll have to wait and see. From Bobby Callahan, sign Yannick Ngakoue this offseason. Maybe. I mean, I've seen this idea thrown out there, and, I think I've maybe mentioned it once or twice. He's just so consistent, right? Now, he's not going to be cheap. He's still, I think he's 29, somewhere in that range, so he's not super old, and having another great year, 9.5 sacks for the Colts, and he's just been Mr. Consistent. He's always 8 to 10 sacks. This year he may actually top 10 sacks, so if you get him in here as an edge rusher and then either sign or draft a defensive tackle, I think that would go a long way in going from the worst defensive line in the NFL to, a top 15 or top 21. Should the Bears sign Yannick Ngakoue in free agency? Type S for sign or P for pass. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. I would certainly be interested in signing Ngakoue. From Michael, Carolyn Schneider just pulled one of the greatest heists in NFL history and one of the best drafts. They won't do that trade even if they're drunk. So Michael's referring to our mock draft video that we did. I didn't make the trade offer. The simulator did. So I can only go off of that. But what I will say, Michael, is if teams are desperate enough for a quarterback, they overpay, especially in the draft. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. From None Not, what are the most likely teams that are trade back candidates? So looking at the current NFL draft order, so teams behind Chicago that could need a quarterback. Seattle at the number 3 pick. I think they'll probably keep Geno Smith, but I wouldn't rule out them wanting a quarterback. Detroit at pick 4, kind of the same. They might roll with Jared Goff, but they could still, if they like a QB prospect enough, they could. Arizona, I mean, they could be a dark horse. What if they fire Cliff Kingsbury? Maybe they trade Kyler Murray and they go in a new direction. I wouldn't completely rule that out. Indianapolis at 6, that's an obvious one. They need a quarterback. Atlanta at 7, I think, is an obvious one. I don't think Desmond Ritter's that guy. Carolina for sure at 8. You got Vegas at 10. They can move on from Derek Carr without a penalty. Texans again at 12. They've got that pick via the Browns. They could be a team. You move down a little bit. Seattle picks again at 15. Those are probably the teams most realistically in the range that the Bears would be willing to trade down to. So you're talking about more than just 1 or 2 teams. I mean, you got 3, 4, 5 teams in the top 10 or 12 that could be looking to move up and get a quarterback. I'm a bot. I'm a bot. I feel pretty good about the Bears getting Daron Payne. Do you think Washington lets him walk? If they do, I do think the Bears have the biggest shot because they have the most money. Matt Eberflus has made it clear that that position is very critical. And Ryan Poles, the one guy he threw money at last year was Larry Ogunjobi, an interior defensive lineman. I think he'd be willing to do it again for a guy like Daron Payne. Now, does Washington let him hit free agency or do they franchise tag him? I would think he's a pretty strong tag candidate, but you never know. I mean, teams do weird stuff all the time. They might decide that they're going to let him walk because they don't want to pay him. Subscribe to the channel and join the Noti gang by hitting that notification bell and selecting all. That means if you subscribe, hit the bell, select all, you will get notified on this thing, your phone, every single time we publish a video. So don't miss our coverage here at Bears Now. We're going to have you covered here on a daily basis. Would you trade back to 7 with the Colts and take Myles Murphy? So right now, Colts are actually 6. But yeah, I think that's kind of the range where he could go, anywhere between 5 and 10 right now, I would guess, for Myles Murphy. But yeah, I think that's definitely a good option. Like, say you trade down to 7, get an extra first next year and an extra second this year, something like that. Take Murphy there, then, maybe you go receiver or O-lineman with your next pick. From Latrell Fitzpatrick, would you try to sign Orlando Brown Jr. from the Chiefs? I don't like how he's played this year, if I'm being honest. He's given up the second most pressures in the NFL per PFF. Now, a few of those are probably the way Patrick Mahomes plays. He holds onto the ball and dances around and makes things happen. But still, I've watched the Chiefs a lot this year. You guys know that. And he gets burnt a decent amount. I have not been impressed. And he's not the best athlete, and we know Ryan Poles values that in offensive linemen. So I don't know, man. I don't know what the Chiefs are going to do there. I'm not that interested in him. I'd be more interested in getting him to move him back to right tackle, which is what he was playing with Baltimore before the Chiefs got him. But is he willing to do that? I don't know. I have not been impressed with him this year. He's kind of taken a step back, in my opinion. Samoan Mike 24, do you see us trading before the draft? Just any trade in general or trading down with your pick? It's certainly possible. Teams are going to come calling for the Bears pick. So, yeah, you could see a scenario where, like that big trade a couple years ago when San Francisco moved up, and it was kind of a 3-team trade with the Niners, Dolphins, and Eagles for San Francisco to move up to number 3. Something like that could definitely happen where, a team comes calling, trades up with the Bears. And, I would prefer that type of trade to happen before draft night, just so you know exactly where you're at and what you're dealing with. And plus, it gives you more time to analyze things and take a look at potential prospects that you could get at pick number 8, for example, or whatever the trade ended up being. So I think it's very possible. Is it probable? I don't know. It's probably too early to say. Appreciate you guys for all of your questions here on Chicago Bears Now. If we didn't get to your questions, follow me on social media and DM me there at HGrahamNFL on Twitter, at HGrahamNFL on Instagram. That is a place where we have you guys covered, so don't miss any of it here on Bears Now.